Want to better understand yourself, others, and the best path for your life? Welcome to Authentic Living, podcast for a better life. The podcast where we delve into life themes and how learning who you authentically are can change your entire life. Here are your hosts, John Boris and Kim Ely.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Authentic Living, the podcast for a better life. You are here with me, Kim Ely, and our other awesome co-host, John Boris.
Hello.
I'm going to kick off this episode by saying I'm thankful for you, John, and that we get to do this together.
I certainly appreciate that. I'm grateful to you as well.
Thank you.
I don't have the knowledge to put all this together. So there you go.
Yeah, glad to help. So having said that, we're going to introduce today's topic, which is really timely for us right now because we're recording this during the holiday season, but it really is applicable anytime. And that is, what is your brand of gratefulness?
Yes.
So start us off, John. I really am interested to know, are different life themes grateful in different ways?
Certainly. And also I could start off with asking you the question.
Okay.
So my question to you is, what gives you cause to be grateful?
Oh, good question. Definitely my husband. I always call him my BFF. I'm grateful for our house. I'm grateful for transportation and abundant amount of food. Super grateful for my family and friends and colleagues, because I really couldn't be where I am today without them.
Very good. So why are you grateful to have a house?
Oh, gosh. Grateful to have shelter from the elements, place to feel safe and warm and comfortable.
And why is that?
Because I love being there with my husband and my cats, who I adore, and just having that feeling of it feeling like home.
Very good. Our audience knows that you're a love theme.
Yes.
And so as a love theme, this is where your gratitude really focuses. It's on the people, it's animals in your life, it's friends in your life. The sense of well-being is what you're focused on regarding the people in your life. And so this is what really guides the love person throughout life when it comes to being grateful. Of course,
right.
But actually this is belongs or is attributed to every month of your life. Doesn't matter. Sure. But by knowing what brand you have, you then know when someone else doesn't perceive your gratitude the way you think they should, then you might know why. Maybe you're talking to a justice person, or maybe you're talking to a power person, because each of the four has their own lexicon with regards to gratitude, the conditions of gratitude, why they should feel grateful, when should they be compelled to feel grateful, when is it that they refuse to feel grateful, even though someone did something for them.
Interesting. I definitely want to know more about that for my friends and family and colleagues for whom I'm grateful.
Sure. So being grateful has everything to do with what you value. What you value is the composites of your view of life itself.
Okay.
Your values, your beliefs. Right. Okay. So your values and beliefs actually define the boundaries of gratitude within your life.
Okay.
So when to express it, when not, how you define it, how you don't, etc. So the love theme, the gratitude begins with caring.
Right.
That's how it starts. And because we care about ourselves, about the people around us, then we have many, many reasons to feel gratitude by the pure presence of them. Presence. Nothing has to be done, but gratitude for them being with us.
Gotcha.
And so for the love people, they're focused on people who are responsible for contributing to the happiness of their life. Their well-being.
Truly, that definitely fits my criteria.
And then when it comes to wisdom, they require rational behavior and purpose. So if you do something for me and it doesn't make sense to me, then I don't know where the gratefulness would fit in.
Ah.
Yes. So, well, let's say someone, in fact, my next door neighbor, or a neighbor of mine, they opt to do something for me, and it didn't make any sense. So he acted as if he was giving to me, but it really wasn't in my mind. It didn't qualify for rational reason.
Gotcha.
So when it comes to what are you grateful during Thanksgiving, it's going to be, for me, what makes sense, what is rational, what is logical, and that's it. Nothing outside of that.
So, John, I'm all about the physical. So what might be another example, because I don't want you to out your neighbor, what might be another example of somebody, because you're a wisdom life theme, offering a gift to you and you're like, this isn't rational.
Let's say a neighbor walks up and says, here's a plant. And they don't know me. And I understand what they're doing. I get it. But I don't deal with plants.
Oh, so it's like, why are you giving me this plant?
Yeah. And so they said, well, we went shopping and this is an extra. Okay. All right. Well, fine. I'll take it. But now I feel it more of a burden.
Ah, that's interesting.
Because he didn't know me.
Ah, gotcha.
And didn't know, my situation. And so I thanked him, of course, but didn't qualify in my mind as gratitude.
So, and I do know I know this bit about you, that you really like Venus flytrap plants. So say instead of just a random plant, your neighbor had given you a Venus flytrap plant and said, John, I know you love these. That would be a rational gift.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. Okay.
And I'm very, very, very happy.
Awesome.
When it comes to the justice people, many people engage in grateful acts to establish a relationship, believe it or not. Either establish one, build one, maintain one. And of course, the justice theme, they're always looking for, what's fair, right, and good in the world. And so when they see that, then they want to reward it, reciprocate. And so that's their definition. That's how they approach gratitude. And through this relationship process, they actually bring harmony into their life and hopefully bring harmony into the other.
My immediate thought with that is, would that be similar to a new neighbor moves into the neighborhood and you want to form a relationship with them, so you specifically buy them a gift? Or am I not on the right track?
No, what I might do is say, because you want to come over and just have some coffee.
Okay. Oh, and that would be the rapport, the relationship.
Yeah. But see, also with a wisdom person, they have to have a reason. So I would have to create a reason. So now, a love person might just walk up and say, hey, I'm your new neighbor. You want to have some coffee? And that's no problem for them.
Right.
Wisdom, they have to come up with a reason. And the justice people, of course, they're a combination of wisdom and love. So they can do either one of them just fine. They can have a reason or not.
Gotcha. Okay. So you would feel like, as a wisdom life theme, if somebody asks you to have coffee, but why? Are we discussing something specifically?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So the last is the power, and the power is all about behavior. And power focuses on not just the gift itself or the benefit, but what do you do after the benefit?
Okay.
I'm a power person. I gave you something and you didn't think much of it. And you just said, well, I'll just put it in the drawer here or whatever. Then that really is a slap in my face.
Ooh.
Okay. Or worse, if you threw it in the trash. Now, that would bother anybody. But remember, we always have all four quadrants. So we can certainly react that way. But with a power person, they're after, this is a gift from me to you. You deal it with respect, and then I'll treat you in kind. Type of thing.
Gotcha. I think I have an example for that, John, that I can share. So I worked with an awesome author client. Her name is Donna Highfill, and we created a book for her called Amazing Change. And it's all about how she grew up as a preacher's daughter, and specifically her father would fill in as a pastor in a congregation that was failing. They would be losing people. He would help build up the congregation, and then he would move on to the next one. He and his family moved into kind of a lower income neighborhood. There was a guy who was in the church. He became so excited about the pastor that he gave him a car to use. And this car did not really fit the pastor's style. It was pretty flashy. It had like an extreme paint job. It had some really radical hubcaps. And at first the pastor was like, oh, no, I can't accept this. He realized that he was really upsetting this congregation member and ultimately decided, oh, okay, yes, I will accept this gift. And the whole congregation really embraced it.
Mm-hmm. I understand. Yes. And so here's another good point to go with that is maybe if someone gave me that car as a wisdom person, and I told them, and I was speaking to a wisdom person, and I explained to them reasons for me not taking it. Then that would work for maybe both of us if he was a wisdom. But if he's not a wisdom, showing him the reasons why I can't have it won't make any difference.
And I think that's exactly what happened in this case.
On the other hand, because maybe he was a justice person or a love person, then he really felt and empathized with the congregation. I empathized with him, empathized with the situation he was in, realized, as you said, that turning it down would be a true insult to him. Whereas with the power and wisdom, it's not as much as an insult, provided a reason given.
Gotcha.
But I could say, I could see that that's all they can do, give a flashy car. And so he rationalized himself through it and decided to keep it.
There we go. I think it's a good also example of authentic systems because we've talked about before objects have meaning. And obviously the flashy car did not fit with the pastor's authentic identity, but yet I guess he wanted to, I'm going to say, speak the language. He wanted to say, oh, I'm so grateful to you. Thank you for giving me this car, even though it wasn't his style.
Right. And also he could have been, if he was a justice person, he's also realizing that a relationship is existing.
Yes.
And he has to empower that.
Yes. Oh, this is fascinating.
Well, it all depends on which way you're going. But the reason why I want to do this podcast is because being grateful is not a one size fits all. Everyone needs to understand that everyone else has a brand of generosity, a brand of appreciation, a brand of gratitude. And so their interpretation may not comply with yours, but that's what they're really doing.
Right. Wow. So thinking about the holiday season, is this one reason why often we have a lot of angst and anxiety around the gift giving surrounding a lot of holidays?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Because it's the notion of gratitude is based on caring, but caring really is the foundation of our moral and ethical views. And so when it comes to a holiday, they're supposed to be up and excited and full of love and participation. And so for those who are not that way, it's very just full of anxiety. They don't know what to do, what to say. They don't know how to say it. They don't want to offend anyone, but yet to hold on to their own feelings. And so then the other one is history.
Oh.
If you're with family, you're with history. And so
That's
now
true.
all these old things can pop up, and some other tried to push it to the side, but it comes up. So there's all these feelings going around, plus the event itself, Thanksgiving or Christmas, whatever it might be. And so all these have to do with expectations, and they're moral and ethical. And that is so who you are.
Yeah.
Your theme. So there's an objective way of looking at morality and ethics that we share as a culture.
Right.
But we still interpret it in our own way.
Interesting. One thing I think it'd be interesting to explore would be maybe pitfalls. What can we avoid if we know we're a specific life theme? Maybe should we explore like what you should not do? Like, well, I guess anybody, I'm going to go on a limb and say anybody, if you give them a gift and you have that, like you said, moral and ethical expectation, no matter who the other person is, if you like throw their present away in the trash
Yeah.
in front of them, everybody's going to get ticked, right? That's pretty universal.
That's right.
That's a big no-no, so don't do that. Right. But is there an expectation? Like, for instance, I remember my mom, whenever a relative would give me a gift, let's say months later, that relative comes to visit our house, my mom would be like, be sure to display that gift front and center so she or he can see it. Is that a particular output of gratitude or display?
Well, that would be their power quadrant at work.
Ah, okay. And why is that?
Because I'm showing what I'm doing with the present after I was given the present.
Gotcha. So like you said, it's showing what happens after the benefit. Oh, you gave me this gift and look, I'm using it.
And also, you raise a good issue here. So if I know your love and you give me something, I'm going to explain to you how great this is for me, how I feel about it. I would show happiness. I would show, of course, gratitude, but it would be all emotion. Now, if you were a justice person, I would describe how this will bring balance to my life.
Ah, okay.
What is something I don't have and I need. I've always needed it, etc. With the wisdom person, I would say, I've always wanted this because I wanted to learn. I wanted to know how this works or functions or whatever it might be. And then for the power person, explain what I'm going to do with it after I'm given. I'm going to tell meaning that I really don't like that much, but I'm going to put it up on my wall. Now now the wall might be in the garage, but I'm going to put it on a wall. Okay.
I love it. That's fantastic. All right. I think this is a good place for us to take a little quick break. But when we get back, we're going to delve more into the brands of gratitude.
After a quick break, John and Kim will be back with more of Authentic Living, podcast for a better life.
Hi, I'm Kim Wells Ely, and with my company, Kiwi Publishing, KWE Publishing, I help take people from idea to published book. But you know about me, I want to share with you today is about an amazing nonprofit called Podium RVA. It's fantastic. They work with public schools, youth development networks, and community centers across the greater Richmond area to bring writing, communication, and leadership workshops to RVA youth. Podium mentors meet weekly all year long with youth in workshops, preparing them for participation in podium publications, such as their annual literary journal and quarterly zines, and showcases to share their creative voices with the larger communities. It's a super fun, amazing group, and I love what they're doing. So check out podiumrva.org and support them today. They're amazing.
Hi, so welcome back to Authentic Living, the podcast for a better life. And John, we've been talking about gratitude.
Yes.
And I have a story I really want to share with you.
Okay.
This really happened. So once upon a time in my corporate life, I had a wonderful colleague. I used to do IT support, and he and I ended up on the road a lot together, traveling. Gosh, we went to Texas. We went to North Dakota. We went everywhere, man. Kind of like Johnny Cash sings about, I've been everywhere. And so, it was holiday times. I wanted to express to my colleague, how much I valued our friendship. We had a lot of great conversations. We were on the road a lot. So I wanted to give him something. And so for a holiday present, I knew from our conversations in the car that he really loved cars and vehicles. And so I thought, I know the perfect present for him. So I went and got him a subscription. Have you heard of Car and Driver magazine?
Oh, yes. Huh?
Yes. So I got him a subscription to Car and Driver, and I was like, hot diggity dog. This is a great present for him. He's going to love it. And so we were in the office. My boss was around. So were some other people, and a bunch of us were exchanging presents. And so I went up to him and gave him, I think it was like a card. And then inside it said, "You've been given a subscription to Car and Driver magazine." And my friend is not known for his diplomacy. And so he opens up the card and he goes, "I already have a subscription to Car and Driver magazine." And as a love person, I was crushed. I was like, "Oh my God, he doesn't like it." Blah. And he's just standing there. And luckily, my boss was nearby, and I adore our boss. And he came up and he goes, "Well, you know what, so-and-so, since you already have a subscription to Car and Driver, why don't you just use the subscription that Kim gave for you and extend your own subscription for another year?" And he was like, "Oh, that makes sense." And I went, "Great, problem solved." And everybody was happy, but I never forgot that experience.
Well, I'm really glad you shared that, because you just described a wisdom person, probably. And all you had to do is come up with a reason. And you did, or your friend did.
My boss did.
Reason was sufficient for him.
Right.
And so, but that's what he needed, and that's what you provided, and that solved the problem. But all that does is points to, you had an expectation that I'm giving a gift, so he must necessarily be happy.
Exactly. I was like shocked, frankly, when he said, like snarky, like, "I already have a subscription to Car and Driver." I was like, "Well, excuse me."
That's right. So what you described, and this is a very small story, is when you expand it to life itself, these things happen every day, everywhere.
Right.
And people are not reacting the way that you think they should. And it's all that is they have a different life theme. And once you understand the different life themes, then there's acceptance all around. For example, what we need to know is we have our own lexicon that we use, language. Like a love language, a justice, wisdom, and power language we've learned throughout our life. And so we take words such as like and love and maybe admire, or the concept of gratitude. And each one has a boundary to it. Like, we understand what like is, but we understand what love is. And we understand that there are similarities, but there are distinctions. And the distinctions are discovered at the boundary of what examples you can provide that would qualify for liking, and what examples you can find that qualify for love. And you could see that there is a difference. And sometimes the difference cannot be defined, but rather they can be discovered through association, which is what this is. The entire dictionary is by association with abstract ideas. That's called connotation. And then there's words that are defined that are physical nature or denotative. And that's two very separate ways of looking at life itself. But each word has its own boundary. And that boundary is subject to the life theme.
Gotcha. Okay. So with like and love and admire, I mean, the three are similar, right? Yeah. But they are not the same.
No, we know that. Yeah.
So would you say the boundary is in the comparison of one against the other? That is how you discover the boundary. Meaning, if you compare what it is to like someone or what it is to love someone, as they say, vive la différence, the boundaries, the existence of categorization or where it fits in has to do with when you compare the two to one another. Like, I don't know if you've ever heard someone, this is like sad romantic stuff, but it's like somebody tells the other person, "I like you, but I don't love you."
Yeah.
And that's very sad. And then you can admire someone. Like, for instance, I admire Oprah Winfrey, but I like things she does, but I don't like or love her because I don't know her. The boundary is I don't have a personal relationship. So is that kind of the boundaries that you're talking about?
Yours. Yes.
Okay.
I would
but
stop,
it's different.
I don't know her. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So because I'm love themed, my boundaries are different.
Yeah, right. Right. So you don't know her. And so getting back to the difference between being in love, just a wisdom and power person is if you're a wisdom person, you love in order to express wisdom. You express justice in order to express your wisdom, if you're a wisdom person. And you engage in power in order to express your wisdom. But when you're expressing wisdom, you're doing it for the sake of.
Gotcha.
That's the
Okay.
difference.
Okay. Gotcha. So where else can we explore these boundaries? Like, for instance, what might be the boundary of our gratitude? For instance, tell me if I'm on the right track, because the example you mentioned about as a wisdom person, you are accepting or grateful for things, but it has to make sense.
Right.
So your boundary would be if somebody gave you something and they feel like they're well-meaning, like, John, I got you this. I don't know. I'm trying to think of, you know what it makes me think of? And I can't remember where this came from. There was a description in literature of a person who was kind of a goober. And it was like, this person always had combs for the bald and caramels for the toothless. Have you ever heard that?
No.
But that kind of irrationality, like, I have no teeth. Why the devil are you giving me this candy that's going to pull all my dentures out?
Really?
Is that what you mean by the boundary? Like, this just freaking makes no sense. Why are you giving me this?
Right. That's your version. Yes.
Okay.
That would make sense to a lot of people. Okay. I'll give you one. I have a good friend, and what she did is the books I have, are Heidegger and Hegel and Kant and Jaspers and Jung, all those people. So here she gives me a book about Winnie the Pooh.
That's a good example. You're like,
So it's like, why? So here's another difference right here.
Mm-hmm.
I will appreciate the gift, but I will not be grateful.
Oh, so explain the difference between appreciation and gratitude then in that
Gratitude
instance.
really goes far deeper. And when you take it to the nth degree, it really does get spiritual.
Okay. Gotcha.
That's why when people during the holidays, when they talk about being grateful, they're really in touch with the spiritual side of their life. And many of them are doing it through prayer.
Yeah.
They're at the dinner table for Thanksgiving, and everyone is supposed to reveal what they're grateful for in a very somber and divine way. And so that's the difference. Now, I appreciate what she did for me because I wouldn't be rude about it, but that's the end of it. That's all I can do. So thank you.
Right.
Or when someone gives you something you just can't use, thank you, but I don't appreciate it.
So if somebody uses, because that immediately makes me think of the expression, it's the thought that counts.
Right.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, that's another good point too. You've got the thought that counts, and that generally holds, but the object itself is quite often sometimes irrelevant, or maybe for some people the object is relevant and the thought isn't.
Ooh, okay, gotcha.
Okay.
Yes.
So maybe there's something you need, and I'll just get it to you for the sake of you needing it. And I'm not really trying to appease your sense of friendship whatsoever.
Right. This gets very complicated.
Oh, yeah. But it can be. You can filter it through the 4 life themes, and it begin to make sense when you see how one person reacts to things like and love, admire, gratitude, and many other words. And they're all pulling it together. They're all tethered to their authentic identity. That's the point. And in the world of psychology, they very well know that. When you go into psychotherapy, you're dealing with words.
Right.
So you're speaking, and I'm listening, and you're speaking.
Right.
That's it. And so out of that, we're supposed to extrapolate psychology, your psychic state. And we do, but to a point. But the point is that all we have is this language, and it's only one small part of the communication.
You're saying basically the verbal language is just a small piece, because if you can't, for instance, see someone, are you saying maybe like there's also body language and circumstances?
Well,
circumstances.
Okay. Wait. We'll get to body language. Okay. Body language, that's really been blown out. Body language works with people you know. Body language works in a public arena, for example, a park. So you see a couple and they're holding hands and walking through the park, gives you a feeling. Then you see old people sitting on a bench and they're reading. That gives you the sense. Maybe someone's leaning up against a pole and just looking at the view. That's another sense. So all that does work, but that's in a very general public way. Now, when you know someone, then you know when they speak and you watch their body language, the body language now means something because you've seen them for a long time. But body language in and of itself is an accent to the communication effort. So, for example, I use this in my classes, is if someone walks up and says, the only sentence you have is, hand me the gun. So, hand me the gun, the cop says to the robber. Well, now you have a sense of there's not going to be any more mayhem. Everyone's safe with the good wins. Now, what if the robber said to the cop, hand me the gun? Now, the words you spoke are the same. The body language can be exactly the same. Doesn't matter. But it's the environment that defines it.
Gotcha.
So, hand me the gun, the dying man said to his wife. Hand me the gun, the father said to the son playing Russian roulette in the closet. Hand me the gun, the client said to the jeweler. So there's lots of things happening. It's all about the environment.
That's really cool. Yes. It's a huge difference.
Yeah. So the other is they misunderstood. That came, I'll have a podcast on that too. The misunderstanding of what body language is and what it's not, and how misquoted. The idea is that body language only contributes to slightly what's being said. The difference is that people watch body language more than the words themselves. That's the difference. We'll look at that.
Okay. Good to know.
If you're sitting in a chair and say, I'm going to hit you over the head with a bat, there's no bat around, it doesn't mean much.
Right.
I mean, it's just body language has to be congruent with the situation.
That makes sense. Sense.
The other one thing about the like and dislike, I was just thinking, you can love your parents, but not like them.
Yep. That's a boundary thing.
You can love your children and not like them. Another boundary.
Gotcha. I think that's an important distinction. So I guess my question would be, if you're going into a place where, let's say there's gift giving, there's, expectations of gratitude, how can our listeners prepare themselves? First of all, get an assessment, learn which life theme you are. But beyond that, do you create that awareness of your expectations? Is that sort of step one before you walk into a situation like that?
Right. What I do is I first decide which quadrant they belong in. And so if I'm going to buy a gift for a wisdom person, and the other thing is I look around them and see what objects they have in their life. That also will tell me their motivation. So I would understand that and say, okay, now I know what that person wants. Where the power is the same and the justice and the love is the same. So you look at them and you make your decision that way and decide which thing they are and go accordingly.
Awesome. I love that. I think going into a situation, any situation, it's so helpful to know what the other person's, life theme is and what matters to them. Any situation, but especially something that seems especially weighted and intense, like gratitude, gift giving, and expectations.
Yes. And then there's subtle gratitude, for example, in marriages. So there's sometimes when one person feels they're taken advantage of, but maybe it's because the other person is really showing gratitude, but the other person is not receiving it.
Gotcha. And that kind of alludes to, I think, something we had talked about before with the physical and abstract results, right? Like you had shared about, I think your wife would say, oh, I picked up the dry cleaning.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then you would say, oh, let's go to dinner.
Right.
And there would be a mismatch because you as an abstract person would be like, so what? You picked up the dry cleaning. Not that you would be flippant like that.
Yeah. No, you're right. No, I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now if she invited me to dinner, then that would be really great. And
right.
The best gifts I ever had was where somebody bought me tickets to a show, a drama.
Yeah.
Theater. Oh, yes. I loved it because it was all abstract,
Yes. I love that.
So marriages and also employer and employee relationships. Okay. And friendships.
Yes.
And so all of this involves not only friendship, but gratitude and when it should be shown and what's expected. And once you learn the themes of yourself and the others, then it becomes far easier. And actually, you can be predictive.
Yes, I love it. So as we're winding down, if somebody's listening to this and they're like, dang it, before I give another gift, I need to know what that other person's life theme is and what mine is. John, how can somebody find out and do an assessment with you?
Well, one is send me an email, john@authentic-systems.com. And the other is to go to johnvoris.com.
Awesome.
And go through the prompts. And I can set up an appointment with you and just have a discussion.
Fantastic. And y'all, it is so worth it. I truly, truly am not just saying this because I do this podcast and because John and I do this together. I really use authentic systems all the time in my work as a book coach and a publisher. John, thank you so much for another fascinating discussion.
Well, thank you. You're welcome.
This concludes another episode of Authentic Living, podcast for a better life. Thanks for spending time with us. Hope you join us again soon.